and welcome back to the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. This is Daily Dive. That is Dan Arestia. And this is not live. This is another pre-recorded thing, but that's okay. The games are hot. They're ready. Dan, how are you doing, sir? And thank you for coming on.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I wasn't able to join you live. I have a challenging schedule during the day, but I would have loved to have done it. But yeah, I'm happy to be on either way. Thank you again for having me.
I think we'll be fine with that. I mean, it is what, Thursday night, so the games happen Friday, so it's like, I think we're getting good lines here.
Yeah, not too much happening between now and then.
I know your forte is the PLL based on the limited knowledge I have of you. So I've got to ask you about your just lacrosse. I want to say background, but just like what is your fandom of lacrosse right now? What do you do for lacrosse and like in your career wise things?
So these days lacrosse, the lacrosse media landscape is always kind of tumultuous, but these days you can find my work, you can find what I do in a few different places. I cover at the pro level, it's mostly for me at sticksinlacrosse.com. I host a podcast there, and I do some written content, and I try and bring a level of coverage to the game that is independent, and there's a fun storytelling element to it. I cover the college game a little bit, D1 stuff. You might see a game story or two from me at Inside Lacrosse once in a while, probably not as much, but you might see some stuff from me there. Otherwise, you'll see plenty of D1 content at Sticks In. D2 and D3, you can see some of my coverage at USA Lacrosse Magazine. And then if there's high school lacrosse anywhere in the Northeast, particularly in Connecticut where I live, then you'll see some coverage there from me at Prep Lacrosse, which is a really awesome new venture that Ty Zanders has spearheaded to kind of bring some more coverage to prospects and to elite high school players, the next generation of stars across the entire country. And I'm pumped to be kind of one of the Northeast guys for that.
I love them. That you were a USA person, as I mentioned, and we've got a few Canadians that have come on the show before, so we gotta differentiate the two on that. So
we are arch enemies. We will not speak to each other. I would never appear on the same show as one of them.
Come on. All right, so we've got PLL is obviously a big thing. And do you have a team that you follow mainly, or what can you give us information about the PLL? I know I think you've broken news on that before, correct?
I've done a little bit of breaking news with the PLL. Free agency time was kind of one of my busier times for them. I break the occasional player signing, stuff like that, and some other pieces of news kind of here and there related to logistics or locations or something like that. Sometimes with player availability, those sort of things, or transactions. So a little bit of breaking news here and there. I don't have a particular team that I really follow or anything like that. I try and keep my my fandom pretty flat. When I watch sports these days, I really haven't cared about the outcome of a game in a very long time. You can play them with the scoreboard off for all I care. I'm just trying to see the players who are the best on the planet at what they do, just put on a show and do things that I might never see them do again, or I've never seen before. The PLL in terms of the product that's on the field, the lacrosse that's on the field, is one of the most exciting things in all of sports to me. I think it's as fun to watch as any of the big four sports, any other sport in the world. You're going to see something awesome. You're going to see incredible athleticism. And that's the thing I tune into watching sports. So that's why I'm drawn to it.
1000% agree with that. Whether it be the PLL or the NLL, which we're going to get into, is just terrific stuff.
Sure.
I'm new to this whole thing and I love it so far. I mentioned the PLL a little bit with the breaking news side, and I know you probably don't have any here, but what is your take on the possibility that Bill Belichick could ever consider signing and being a coach somewhere in the PLL? Is that like a pipe dream, or how are we feeling?
That feels pretty pipe dreamish. I try and stay grounded and try and be a little reality based. And look, Bill is everybody knows he's a lacrosse fanatic. He is a big fan. I get up to games at Wesleyan. His alma mater is not too far from where I live, so I get up to a Wesleyan game here or there. You walk through the Bill Belichick little rotunda to get out to the field where they play games. I got his name on it and everything. So I know he's a lacrosse fanatic, but you're talking a guy who's getting mighty close, I think, to the all-time wins record in the NFL. And there's a lot of legacy left, I think, there for him. And he seems like a guy who I know he's very, very whatever the opposite of verbose is. He's that. He's not going to tell you a lot. He's not going to be very emotional, but I think the idea of being the winningest coach ever probably means something to him. And I think as long as that's still in reach, he might be less than inclined to take a PLL coaching job just shy of an NFL coaching milestone. So I would think the NFL is still in his future. He's not quite ready, I'm sure, to give up that paycheck, that that record book,
Yeah.
that lifestyle, all in the interest of growing the PLL. I'm sure he will support it, as he has in the past, as a fan of it, as a verbal supporter. Whenever you ask him about it, I'm sure he'll have wonderful things to say. Maybe he'll even support it, financially a little bit, invest some money in it, and all that. But in terms of seeing him on a PLL sideline, I have my doubts.
I do too, and I'm glad you feel the same way. But it, I think it's just a fun thing to talk about that we're at this point. It's like it's could be, but it's mostly not. But I like it though. All right, so the reason we brought Dan Arestia here on today is to talk about the betting side of lacrosse. And I know it. You said you're not like the biggest sports bettor, I believe.
I am not. I don't profess to be an expert at it, to be good at it. If you have a handy, if you reach into your pocket and you find a quarter and you can flip it, then you can probably do just as well as I can picking these games.
Oh, well, I mean, I can do well picking the month like straight up, but I mean, that's just the hardest part. So we're in the same boat here, and that's okay. So let's get into these two games on Friday. We got the Toronto Rock and the Halifax Thunderbirds. I am shocked that the Rock are favored in this game because I feel like this game is pretty even, in my opinion. But I gotta know what you think. Rock are still without Tom Schreiber for however long that is, and of course, Thunderbirds have been pretty up, but they've also given up some leads to some teams. So, what is your take on the Rock and the Thunderbirds game?
So, when I watch Toronto, and again, I'm a person still learning the indoor game. The indoor game is still something that's new to me over the last couple of years, but I've very much fallen in love with it. And I'm really trying to learn as much as I can about it. But when I watch Toronto, the defense in the transition game is what stands out as a strength to me. Obviously, that all starts with Nick Rose, who's been unbelievable for me. He's the goalie of the year right now. I think that's a tight race, but I would give him the edge. He's got a goals against. I think it's like barely over 8. So he's killing it. I think Mitch Desnew has been unreal too. So I look at Toronto and I see a defensive team there that is tough to handle. I think there's also, they've enjoyed having TD Erlin be as dominant as he has. I think he's been the best faceoff specialist in the league this year. I think the next best faceoff specialist in the league is going to be the guy who he goes up against this week. And I think those battles are fun. I think that, TD versus Jake Withers is going to be a blast. I like what Withers brings to the table away from the faceoff X more than what TD can do. But I think, I see Toronto and I see a team that can defend so well. But the exciting part there is that Halifax's offense is deep, is dangerous. They all shoot really well. Clark Peterson, I think, has in his career has played very, very well against Toronto. He usually has good games against Toronto. So, I think there's I think this is one of my favorite games of the weekend. This might even be the game of the week, TSN game of the week.
Wow.
I think it might be. So,
for that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think this is TSN's game of the week. But for me, this feels like a game that would be kind of close, or is a game that could be, kind of a gritty, maybe a rock fight kind of game. So whenever I see games like that, I'm tempted to just take the goals, and I think Halifax is getting 1.5 in this. So it's a game where I would probably go with Halifax in that regard, but I feel like I would take like the under and look for kind of a rock fight kind of a game.
And no pun intended with the rock there. No, but
no pun intended with the rock fight.
Right. I think Halifax wins it. I know producer Joe says Toronto wins it, but we both pretty much stayed under on this game. I agree with that. So for what our opinions are worth, I like the under as well. I just see like a physical playoff type atmosphere. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
That game starts at 6:30 Eastern, by that's early for an NLL game. Oh, good stuff.
I don't know how I'm going to get into that. My kids are still going to be awake. It could be tough.
Good stuff. San Diego Seals. San Diego Seals travel to take on the Las Vegas Desert Dogs. This game is the biggest favorite of the week, obviously minus 345, or in other words, 3.5 goals. Vegas put up numbers against Calgary in Calgary, but this is the first of a back-to-back for San Diego. Does that play a part for you as an amateur bettor, if anything, or how are you feeling about this game?
The first part doesn't. The second part probably would. The second part of their doubleheader, their second game, I would think. Obviously you can't see a line or any info for that yet, but the second game for San Diego is the game where I'd obviously be thinking, all right, this is the second game in 2 days for them, both away from home. They'll be going from Vegas to Colorado to play these games. But I look at this game. I think Vegas has given up 17 goals in back-to-back games. I think, I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. And
it's close.
That's a tough thing to have on the resume when San Diego's coming to town. Because that's an offense that'll score on you. Austin Stotts for me is a combination of power and skill. That is, I don't know how defenses he can cause an entire defense to break down basically on his own. And when you pair that with Westberg, with Curtis Dixon, it's enough to keep anybody up at night. Like, I don't know how you scheme to stop the Seals. So I see that, and even with the gigantic line, the 3.5 doesn't scare me away. Honestly, of San Diego, I would take the Seals in this, and I would take this game to go over.
Oh, you like the over? Okay,
I like the over too. Yeah,
I like it. Jack Hanna's got to find a shot one down. I know he plays in the PLL too, I believe. So, yeah, who does he play for?
He plays for the Water Dogs, Philadelphia Water Dogs in the PLL.
Philly, that's
so
right.
He's been a out of college and everything. He's an exceptional shooter. Sometimes he can be something you would call like a volume shooter, where the percentage can be a little bit low, or he can run a little bit cold for a little bit. So it's nothing that would be like new for him, but he's never somebody you would ever tell to stop shooting. He's just too gifted for that. If I'm watching a player for Vegas, I'm watching Connor Kirst. I think, the last week against, or in their game, he did like everything. He was everywhere. He had 3 points in that game. He caused 4 turnovers in that game. I think he went over 50% facing off, and he had 13 loose balls. So like, if you can fill up a stat book like that, you can do your own little Zach Currier impression, then like, you're a player to watch for me. So his kind of blow up in that game makes him a guy I'm excited to watch this week for sure.
I love that. I like you convinced me on the over there a little bit, concerning San Diego is traveling, and I do like the 3.5 for sure as well. Saturday games: Buffalo Bandits, Rochester Nighthawks, home of Connor Fields, friend of the show. This is my favorite game of the week personally, because I feel like Buffalo, they could, while they're 2-2 and they're back to 500, could easily go back to 2-3 and looking up again. Rochester last year was really good, and then they sort of fell off, kind of like they're starting to do this year, maybe. What is your take on this game? It's 24.5, and Buffalo, I believe, is favored by 1.5, but it could be 2.5 based on that money line.
Yeah, I see. I saw on DraftKings today, I saw Buffalo favored by 2.5 goals. So I don't know, maybe it might have moved, but as always, I pull it when I go into this stuff. I do it all via DraftKings. But if you're serious about this stuff, please line shop. Go find the best value you can. I feel like this will probably get maybe a shootout kind of billing, and I think the game total tells you that. The 24.5, I think, is the biggest of the weekend. So I think Buffalo has been pretty battle tested, as you can be, kind of early in the year, and they haven't won 2 in a row or lost 2 in a row yet. They've gone lost, win. So, but their schedule so far is Albany, San Diego, Georgia, and Colorado. Like,
it's been brutal.
That's a tough way to start your season. Nobody thought Albany was going to be a tough way to start your season, but look where we are now. So I think you look at that group of 4 teams, I think 3 of them are probably in the top 4 teams in the league. So Buffalo, I think their last 2 games have been home, and I think this one is on the road. It's not exactly like they're traversing the globe to go to Rochester or anything, but for me, I think I'm watching this game is the goalie situation for Rochester.
1,000%.
We saw Ryan Hartley leave the game in kind of scary fashion, and there was, I think, an update this week where he's progressing, and he's improving and all that. So great positive news there, and you wish him the best and everything. But I think without him in net, they had Riley Hutchcraft in last week, and I think he was under 70% save percentage. if you're going to have a question mark against Buffalo, you don't want it to be in your net. You don't want,
Agreed.
you don't want Josh Byrne taking shots at a goalie who's not comfortable and is not prepared. So, Rochester has been hanging a ton of goals on people. You mentioned Connor Fields. He's obviously a wizard. Ryan Smith has been filling the book up. His point total is ridiculous. They acquired Ryan Lanchberry, which is, I thought, an aggressive move, but he's averaging 5 points a game for them since he's been there. So they've got this great balance between the right and left side. We haven't even mentioned Thomas McConvey. He just gets to flourish as a rookie without any pressure on him. He just gets to play with these guys and get comfortable and produce. So he's looked great to me. There's wonderful balance for them on offense, but this feels like one of those games where Rochester might, if they win, might be needing to score a ton of goals, might need to win a shootout. And I don't know if the goalie that they're going up against is the goalie you want to be trying to do that with. So for me, I kind of like Buffalo here. The line is a little bit scary to me, the 2.5. I don't know, but
agreed.
I will take the over, even though it's a giant number, because I'm going to take the over because I'm hoping it goes over, because I'm cheering for that to happen as I watch this game. I'm hoping to see a ton of goals from just the slew of offensive wizards on the floor in this one.
Yep. I think there will be. I think Matt Vince, even if he holds his own, I could see Rochester still getting him 10 or 11. If you think Buffalo's going to get theirs, then I like the over as well. I love it. Saskatchewan Rush and the Philadelphia Wings. The Wings just signed, I believe, a face-off specialist from the PLL, which, what is it? Nick Rowlett.
Nick Rowlett. Yeah, they signed Nick Rowlett. So Philly's been kind of hurting at the face-off spot. Obviously, Trevor Baptiste leaves in the offseason. There is no replacing Trevor Baptiste. He's a one-of-a-kind, unique talent. They've been facing off with IDA, with Isaiah Davis-Allen, and, he's been obviously struggling. It doesn't have quite the impact it would have as it might outdoors. I find indoors anyway. It still obviously is not a place you want to be. I think the Wings as a team are facing off around 20%. That's just not a sustainable thing. So it's, you need to try a couple other people out. Nick is a really good face-off specialist. He's tough as nails. He is a kid who will, he knows where he wants to exit, and he does want to mix it up. He is, he's not Jake Withers, but he's not that far of, I guess, that kind of comp of I just want to battle you for the ball. He was with Georgia, I believe, in the preseason. I think he had a deal with Georgia, and, he didn't stick there because Georgia, I think, was happy with, Jeremy Thompson and the face-off personnel that they have. So, Nick didn't stick there, but he's a guy who was on radars for the NLL because of the way he plays and, his ability with the ball and his stick after picking it up. So, it'll be interesting to see kind of how that impacts this one. But obviously that's a big signing for them to solve a problem that they have, or to hopefully solve a problem that they have. I look at Philly, and maybe the issue they have is being kind of on their defensive end more than their face-off spot. I think the defense has just kind of had these lapses where they let Higgins see these shots in volume that they don't make offenses work hard enough for. Higgins has been really good. He's been really good.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
But he has also seen, I went and looked at it because I was like, I wonder just how big the difference is. He's seen 279 shots in 5 games. The next highest total in the league is 255. So he's coming up on seeing he's like a half a game worth of shots ahead of the next goalie in the league. He's seen an extra half a game worth of shots. He just keeps seeing all this rubber, and it's a tough place to be, particularly with the shooters that Saskatchewan's going to bring. Zach Mans has taken a leap this year. He is one of, I think I had put it out on social, but there's 3 guys in the league right now who have taken 30 or more shots and are shooting 40 or better %. And Zach is one of them.
Wow.
And if you're a team that's given up a ton of rubber and letting your goalie see a ton of shots, Saskatchewan's not the team you want to be doing that with, because they'll punish you. They'll punish you for it. They shoot too well. So
43%.
So the Rush are getting a goal and a half in this one. So I am going to say thank you, and I'm going to take the Rush plus 1.5. I don't know what the value is there. It might be one of those things where the value is terrible, but I'm going to take the Rush plus 1.5. And I'm on a lot of overs, but this also feels like an over game to me. I'm also going to take the over. I like that Philly got Holden Catoni and Blaze Reardon back. It felt like they even got them back ahead of schedule based on where they were when those injuries were announced. It felt like, like a month, 2 months for those guys, and they were back. It felt pretty quick. So happy to see them back. Their offense gets bolstered by that. Their offense is awesome. Mitch Jones is like, I can't watch him enough. He does so many incredible things. So I will take an over in this one too.
I kind of lean the over. It's minus 110 for the Rush, so it's like pick your poison. Okay, it's whatever. Darn them. Okay, Panther City and the New York Riptide. Riptide are hot. They won a game, and now their graphics team is getting very feisty with putting pictures of Panthers in cages, which is just so evil. I love it. In this game, Panther City, this is another one of those really weird ones. Panther City is minus 120 in this game, and Riptide minus 110. So it's like, pick your poison on this one. Thoughts on the Riptide? Do they get another win here?
So I will probably be going to attend this game. The Riptide, a ride out to the island to see the Riptide isn't too far from me, so I try and get out as many times a year as I can. So I'm going to get out to see Panther City. I think New York's coming off their best performance, obviously, of the season, but it's one of I think the most complete performances I've ever seen them have in the games I've watched. Not perfect, but it only takes you a second to count the flaws in that one. I think getting the first win of the year in that kind of effort is such a bolster to a roster. And to me, it felt like as you were watching that game, everyone that was, speaking of our guy, Bill Belichick, that was a do your job kind of game. Not everyone out there was the superstar. Not everyone out there was, the guy making a highlight play, but everybody had a role and everybody was doing it. Obviously Jeff Teed is going to be who he is. He's one of the most special lacrosse players in the world. But, it's great to see Austin Madronic get on the board and get a goal his first of the year. So hopefully he kind of gets going. I think Connor Kieran's underrated. I have a lot of fun watching him play. I think he's a really fun player. And then, Keogh has been, you got to find a book that's giving you a prop on over under 0.5 opportunities from Keogh that go between his legs. Cause he's at one a game right now. He's at one a game right now. The second one hit the crossbar this week.
I thought if that had gone in, that might be better than the somersault shot.
I thought it was going to go. And shout out to the Riptide's social team, to Tyson there, who captures that stuff, and whoever else is doing it. They get those. They get incredible shots. They had incredible shots in that game. But offenses tend to have a hard time running it up on Panther City. I think Nick DeMood's been really good. So. I will be interested in the health of Matt Hossack as well. I think Panther City needs to find a little more scoring depth. Callum Crawford is ageless, and it's incredible. I don't know if this is like a revenge game because he played in New York for a little bit, but like not long enough for it. But like, it's not like, I don't think he has bad feelings about New York. I don't think he was really here long enough or anything to like develop one way or the other. So revenge game feels strong, but he is playing a former team, and I'm sure guys enjoy that kind of thing. I'll watch Donville play indoors, outdoors, wherever all the time. I love watching Donville play as an initiator, as an assist first kind of guy. I think he's really fun. So I think Panther City is going to compete. I think Callum Crawford is going to score some goals, but I think New York is just going to be feeling too good off of their performance. And I think they, I don't want to say they're going to be looking ahead, but their schedule for literally the next like 2 months after this Panther City game is brutal. It's brutally hard. So I think New York's going to want to keep those good vibes going. I think they're going to do it. I think Crawford scores plenty, but I will take the Riptide to get the win at home in that one. But I will take the under in this game. Even though it's a low total, I'm going to take the under here.
I got the Riptide 12-10, but I could see it going either way. Like producer Joe's got 12-10 the other side. So there you go. All right, Firewolf Swarm in one of the games of the week. I'm not biased, even though I'm here in Georgia. Swarm, I'm shocked they're favored in this game because I know they're 4-1. The Firewolves are 5-0, but it's like Georgia played Colorado twice. Can we be real about that? Like, are you shocked Firewolves are underdogs in this game again?
I mean, I'm going to keep being surprised by it until it stops happening. I know that like the value, if you have line shopped, like the Firewolves might not have necessarily been underdogs every week, but on DraftKings every week they've basically been plus 1.5 or plus 2.5. So they're getting goals every week, even though the value might stink and you might not get a whole lot for your money and it's not necessarily a great bet. But But look, if you want to take Albany again to go 6-0, you're going to get 1.5 goals for the trouble. So, look, they're coming off that win against Halifax. I thought was impressive. For one main reason. I mean, obviously everyone knows Albany's got this rookie group young group really that's as exciting as it gets. But Albany was also down to Halifax by 2 goals in the fourth quarter of that game, and that's a situation where I mean, with Halifax, that's a team full of vets. That's Graham Hossack, that's Cody Jamieson, that's Tyson Bell, that's Withers, Randy Stotts, guys who have been doing this, and those are guys that know how to win those kind of games. And for rookies to go on a 4-0 run to close that game out, to go from down 10-8 and win 12-10, I found that to be particularly impressive against the Halifax personnel that, again, is a battle-tested, is a veteran, is a smart, very talented group. So I was really impressed by that at Albany. I think Albany's going to see maybe their toughest goalie test of the year in Brett Dobson. I think you get these games from Dauber where he's just going to turn into a brick wall for a while. And it's can a rookie and can rookie shooters handle the shot that you take, and every other time you've taken it this year, it goes in, but Dauber robs it this time. Sorry. Mentally, you kind of got to be ready to deal with, I think, with that kind of thing of, like, I'm getting these great looks and I can't get them in. And you just got to keep shooting and try and beat a hot goalie. It's one of those things that can happen. Albany's been playing great lacrosse. I think Joe Nardella is going to be big and tilt possession in this game Albany's way. I like him to win the face-off battle, and that certainly matters. Georgia has had the occasional lapse, I find, in games this year where they have like a 5-6 minute stretch where the defense is just kind of like giving up some bad ones, and then eventually they'll kind of make a big play and get dialed back in. But I think a lapse like that could end up being something that's like the difference in a game like this. So I'm going to take Albany getting the goals because I'm not going to stop taking Albany until they lose a game. So I'll take Albany plus 1.5. And then the Swarm have gone under in 4 straight games, and Albany has gone under in their last 2. So I'm going to ride that, and I'm going to say we go under in this game. So I'll take Albany plus 1.5 and the under.
Love it. I love it. All righty, Seals, Mammoth, no odds yet, but San Diego is – if Colorado loses this game, this is tough for them. This is very tough for that whole staff and everything. You think Seals can get a win? I actually think Colorado wins this game.
So it's tough. Like, it's hard to know what to make of San Diego for this game because we don't know what's going to happen in their first game. Are they going to have injuries? Are guys going to not be able to make it? Or what kind of game are they going to play? Is it going to be an OT game? So guys are going to be gassed. You don't know what's going to be happening and how it's going to impact it. So it's tough to like try and get into picks on this. Mac O'Keefe gets added this week, so there's a depth add there that certainly will help with him on the active roster. He's a guy who's going to help them on the left. He shoots as well as anybody on earth. So, it's tough to know exactly what to do with the Seals. With Colorado, it just hasn't looked quite right yet. Like you watch them, there's just something about them. Buffalo tore up the defense pretty good a week ago. Dylan Ward was making some saves, but he was also seeing some shots that I'm sure were the kind of shots he did not want to see. They just look like a team that just kind of needs some work right now. And, it's funny because like the last 2 years, Colorado has been the team that it's like when they need a win and when it's time to turn it on, they do it. And the last 2 years that's happened like at playoff time. It's how they find themselves in the finals. They haven't been the 1 seed or anything either time. They just when backs against the wall and it's time to put up the big game. Like Colorado has been the team that finds a way to do that. It's interesting that they're going to maybe have to do that in January. Like you don't want with the way the format of the playoffs is now, you can't be digging yourself a hole and winding up at the bottom of the standings with all these, to climb back up into the top 8 with especially how good teams are at the top. So this feels like a game that they kind of need to have. So this is, I feel like I am ready to see Eli McLaughlin have a crazy good game and see him. He could be an emotional like spark of a guy. You see the way he celebrates after goals, and this is a game that's in the Loud House. So it's a game where I think the crowd will be a factor in the game. There aren't too many real true home advantages in lacrosse, but Colorado certainly has one of them. That's a place that'll be going nuts. So I look for him to kind of elevate the energy, elevate kind of the urgency for the team. And this is one of those games where, if it's a Colorado of last year or the year before, then they find a way to win this game because they need it. They need this one. Like, this is a big one, especially against San Diego. It's a statement to the league saying, don't count us out.
Done.
We're still here. We're still Colorado. We're still good. So, with no line, you can't really make a pick, but I'm tilting towards Colorado, and just from like an urgency standpoint, from what I would expect from that locker room.
I kind of like an under 22.5 because I feel like that's where we're going to get in this game.
Yeah, the 22.5 total probably feels kind of inevitable. It might be a little bit higher just because the Seals are the Seals and Colorado's defense hasn't been great. But again, I if it's a close line, if Colorado's getting like 2.5, I'm gonna be all over that.
Hammer them. All right. Roughnecks Warriors last game. Thank you so much, Dan, for your time. Calgary is back to take on their old friend Mouse, good old Kurt Malowski. This is tough. I actually like the under in this game. I think Vancouver wins it, but I can see either side of that. I like the under. I think it's been an ugly defensive game.
Yeah, Calgary had kind of that rough start to the year where they had 2 games against good teams, but they had 2 games where they didn't play all that great. And then they had that long break. But then they get kind of the get right game. They get their home opener. They get to thrash Vegas. They hung 17 goals in that game.
That was good.
But this is a week. They're back on the road again now. So this, but for me, I think Jesse King alone has been worth price of admission for a Calgary fan this year. He's 4th in the league in assists, and he's played 3 games. There's guys in front of him who played crazy. 5. There's guys in front of him with 2 more games. They only have like 1 or 2 more assists than he does. So, he's been special. I think Del Bianco's numbers in net have dipped a little bit from where they were last year, but like he's too good to expect him to not be, one of the best goalies in the league. So, I think you want to see the Roughnecks be a little bit better at finding a way to win kind of the extra possessions, to find ways to create, whether it's in transition or an extra possession. I think nobody on that team has more than 15 loose balls outside of Zach Currier. So you need to start winning some of those 50-50 balls, those loose balls, and manufacture an extra possession here or there. That's the kind of thing that can make a difference. I like watching Vancouver because there's this really fun balance of young and old. There's Charles Lambides, who's still young. I know he's not necessarily the youngest in terms of years because he played college lacrosse forever, but in terms of like time in the NLL, he's a young guy. So you have him as like their top lefty. And then on the other side, you have Kevin Crowley, who's been doing this forever and is still productive. So you have this cool balance of young and old on offense. You've got
Owen Grant.
Yeah, you've got Owen Grant and then, like guys like Matt Beers on the other side who've been doing this forever. And Owen Grant obviously is your sensational young defenseman. So I think goaltending maybe is a factor a little bit. Last time I was watching Vancouver, I think it was against Colorado. It looked like Bold kind of let in a few where you could tell he wanted them back, where he felt like he should have made the save. And that was an overtime game. So those are the kind of things that swing the game in the end. So I think sharp goaltending is going to be big in this game. I think that possession battle is going to be big in this game. I think Calgary on the road has been, like we said, they started their first 2 games on the road and they struggled a little bit. They got home and they beat up on Vegas. They get the confidence up. But I think I'm going to take Vancouver as the home underdog here. And I'm also going to be on the under.
Okay. I like that. Like I said, I picked Vancouver. Producer Joe picked Calgary, but I'm going with the under. I like that as my best bet for this game if I had to choose. Dan Arestia, we appreciate your time. You were awesome. You want to plug anything else before you go here, sir?
No, you can find all of my misguided and horrible takes, particularly about indoor lacrosse, on sticksinlacrosse.com. The Sticks In podcast is available wherever you get podcasts. I'll have every Friday before an NLL weekend, I have the weekend primer for you. So if you want these thoughts in written form and you need to know when a game is happening, where a game is happening, or how you want to watch that game, I've got it all for you in the weekend primer that hits sticksinlacrosse.com every Friday. And then on Monday, you'll get takeaways from what we saw over the weekend, or what I think I saw, as I try desperately to learn the indoor version of this sport. So that's where you can find my stuff for the most part for now.
Dan Arestia, you are awesome. You are popular on the Twitter, especially for the lacrosse community, and we appreciate everything you do. And thank you again for your time on the show.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.